So I was having a conversation probably about a week or so ago with an associate of mine. And we were just talking about life, love, relationships, all that good stuff. And as they were sharing some stories, it tickled me because I called them out and said, I don't have time to be dealing with that type of stuff. I don't know why anyone would want to deal with that. And they said to me, which really tickled me, for you to be a girl, it amazes me how you don't understand girl talk. I said, no, correction. I don't understand or speak ignorance. And one of the things that I began to speak on was, as women, and there are some men who operate in this way as well, especially those who are effeminate, but I want to focus on not so much men, but women, because I am a woman. As women, a lot of times we don't take the time to develop our emotional maturity. And I decided to read an article to understand how emotional maturity is defined. And one of the things that is said in that article is emotional maturity is a term that implies crafting thought out responses when faced with certain scenarios, explicitly designed to trigger reactionary behavior. And as I'm reading this, I'm also beginning to think about the scripture and how all of this needs to be tied together, because we've always been taught, even till this day, that communication is key. But I would like to change that narrative and say, no, communication is not key. Instead, honest communication is key. Because far too often, we're communicating all throughout the day, especially with our loved ones and those who we may be involved with romantically. They ask us how we're doing. I'm okay. I'm good. We put a little tone behind it, expecting them to hopefully dig a little deeper, knowing good and God doggone well we should be mature enough to say, hey, I'm not having a good day. As a matter of fact, earlier this happened, or earlier when we spoke, I was really offended by some of the things that you said, or the tone in which you spoke. It triggered me, or whatever the case may be. And what I'm noticing is, far too often we as women, we don't communicate honestly. And we spend a lot of time telling lies, being dishonest, or operating in double-mindedness. And an example of that is, hey, I don't want to talk to you no more. I don't want to, don't ever call me again. And as my homie was telling me, well, you have to know that when a woman says, I don't want to talk to you anymore, or don't ever call me again, she actually means when she hangs up the phone that you need to call her back immediately within the 5 minutes of the conversation ending. And I said, no, that's absolutely incorrect. Because if you wanted to continue conversation, then you should have continued conversation. Or if you were in a place emotionally and mentally where you were not able to continue the conversation due to your emotions being on a high, and your mouth is getting ready to get out of control, if it already hasn't gotten out of control, then it was at that point that your maturity should have kicked in, and you should have communicated, hey, I'm going to be real with you right now. The way this conversation is going, I'm getting ready. I feel myself getting ready to get out of character. And therefore, I don't want to say anything that I might not be able to come back from. So with that being said, I want to take the time to just go ahead and table this conversation. And maybe once I come down and you come down, then we can re-engage when we're both in a better mental and emotional state, so that we can honestly communicate with one another and things not get out of hand.